for those of you who may not be familiar with GALILEO Admin, and also point out some of the newer features that we've added since we've done this overview. And so today we're going to talk about what is GALILEO Admin. And then I'll go into, most of this will be a live demo. So, and then I'll go and at that point we'll go into a demo, and I'll show, we'll go over Galileo Local Resource Integration, also known as GLRI, brandings, customizing bento boxes, customizing featured resources, also known as in the spotlight. And then institutional information, how to add Wayfinder keywords, manage your institutional links, view by subscription type, hide tools, and then under, and then we'll go over customizing Galileo managed resources, including managing the display of resources, adding additional subjects, adding additional keywords, and a new feature we have of adding your branding to cost share resources for those of you who have cost share. I'm going to go over the different account types that are possible, and then we have some training scheduled for anyone who was interested in becoming a Galileo admin user. And then if we have time, we'll have some questions at the end. So what is Galileo admin? So Galileo admin is a administrative area that allows you to customize the Galileo portal, view and edit institutional information. And in Galileo admin, you can add locally purchased resources, also known as GLRI, to your database list, add banners, customize bento boxes, manage the in the spotlight area, view your institutional information, manage brandings, run institutional reports, and more. So I'm going to jump to sharing my screen. So the first thing I wanted to go over is GLRI, Galileo Resource Integration. And so what that allows you to do is, if your institution has purchased local resources in addition to what you get through Galileo, you can add those to Galileo using Galileo Admin. So right now, I'm in, today, everything I'm going to be showing today is in our staging environment. So things may look a little bit different than what you would see in the production environment. But I'm logged in as Agnes Scott College, and I just wanted to show you some examples of what GLRI look like. So I want to go under the GLRI, show me only GLRI. And so you'll see here that Agnes Scott College has a lot of GLRI resources. It has their branding. And then when you're searching your databases, the GLRI show in line with all the Galileo provided resources. And these also show up in Bento as well. And so I'm going to now switch over to Galileo Admin. So I'm logged in again in our staging environment as Agnes Scott College. And so when I first log into Galileo Admin, you'll get routed to the resources area, and by default, it's going to show you your GLRI resources that are active and are set up. So Agnes Scott has close to 300 GLRI resources, and so I see a list of those. And so from here, I can search for a particular one. I can sort them. I can have a limit to active or not active. Right now, it's defaulting to active. I can show which ones are display, and by display means they show up in the database list. So you can actually set it to not display in the database list if you wish. and GLRI. So this is also you can view the Galileo managed resources. So it's limiting to only GLRI. Bypass authentication. So if you have an open access resource, you can just have it bypass any authentication. So you can limit by that. And then your GLRI institution. So that's going to be your institution, in this case, Agnes Scott. And then you can limit to a vendor as well. And so here you'll see a list of all the GLRI. There's the code that we use. And then you'll see a couple of columns here. One is, a check mark if it's active, if it's currently displaying in your database list, if it's a GLRI, which these all are, if it's bypassing authentication, and if it's using Open Athens, for those of you that are using Open Athens. So there's a couple ways to when you get a new resource, there's a couple ways to add a new resource. One is there's a new button on the top right here. So if I wanted to just create a record from scratch, I click new and it gives me all the fields. I might want to go over those right now, but it just gives you a blank record to fill in. You also, and this is probably what most people use, is you can also copy another institution's record. So what I did, I just cleared out Agnes Scott. So now I am seeing every GLRI record that any institution has added that is active. So I'm just going to search for, let's see, Newsbank. So if I scroll down here, I'll see there's a, looks like University of West Georgia has a African-American newspapers. And let's say I just started subscribing to that and wanted to add it to my database list. I have a copy button here. So if I click that copy button, it's going to copy the record into an Agnes Scott record. So at this point, you would, it copies in the name, the descriptions. It doesn't make it active by default, so you would have to select that. And it also doesn't copy in the IP, so you would have to, not IP, but the access URL. So that might be different than what your access URL is. And then it also copies over any subjects and formats that may be added. In addition, if there were keywords added, it would copy those over as well. So that's what would mostly be used. And so I'm not going to I don't have time to go over everything with GLRIs, but we do have dedicated training if this is something that you would be interested in managing for your institution. But I'm going to just go over some of the fields, highlight some of the different fields and functionality that GLRI has in Galileo Admin. So I want to go under JSTOR, their JSTOR record, and I want to edit that record. So notice that for any Agnes Scott records, I have an edit button too, in addition to a copy button. So here you'll see the name of the resource. A logo, you can give it a custom logo if you want, but by default, it will show your institution logo. You have a short description and a long description. And in the long description, you can add some HTML. There's a few acceptable HTML tags that you can use. Vendor name, display in Galileo. So if you wanted it to not display in Galileo, you could turn this off and it wouldn't be in your database list. So there's some cases where there's a resource that's only for a select group of people. And you may not want everyone to see it. So that's a use case for that. Active resource, that's when you want to make it active and appear in your database list. And then bypass authentication. So You can enable that if you had, if you are linking to an open access resource or maybe an internal LibGuide or something like that, where you don't necessarily want someone to have to log into Galileo to access. And then you have your URLs, the URL that's used for IP access on campus. And then you have your Open Athens URL for those of you that are on Open Athens. And then you know, if you're using Open Athens, there's an Open Athens enable button there. And then you also have your formats and subject categories for the resource. You can add those. You have keywords, so if there's additional keywords that people may use when when searching for, in this case, JSTOR, that and we, so in this case it's all the different ways that people may type in JSTOR. So that's the keywords in this case, but you can add as many as you want. And then we also have branding. So in this case, there's a funded by ASC branding, but also they have a free web resource branding, and I want to go over branding in a bit. But you can assign a branding, and then there's a few other fields, and then a notes. And again, I'm not going to go over all of this, but if this is something that is interesting to you and it's something you want to take on at your institution, submit a ticket and we can get you trained up and on how to manage URI. The next area I wanted to go over was branding. So you saw here I have two different brandings for Agnes Scott. And if I go in the institutions area, you'll see here I'm actually have access to a Clark County Schools as well, but I'm going to go under Agnes Scott College. And this is their institution record. So there's a few buttons here, but for branding, I'm going to go under brandings. And so you'll notice here that they have two brandings set up, one for free web resource and one for funded by ASC. So if I edit one of these brandings, you can see that I can add text, and I can also add an image if I wish. And so you can add as many brandings as you want. In this case, they have two, but if there's resources that are funded by a certain department and you wanted to have a special branding for those resources, you can set that up as well. And the next area I wanted to show is the banners area. So this is a brand new feature. And so right now I'm in the banners area for Agnes Scott, and I'm going to create a new banner. And so I'm going to fill in some information. So the audience is for Agnes Scott, so that's the only option. So that's grayed out. And then yeah, so if I have two options under institutions, since this account is associated with two institutions, which will not be the case for most of you. And I want to paste in the text I want to show at the in the banner. So this is the McCain Library will be closing at 3 on July 4th, and then there's more information. So this is actually brand new. This WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. So before you had to know the HTML code to be able to add hyperlinks and make things bold, but we made that a little easier by adding these little tools here. And this is just added. This isn't actually in production yet, but will be coming to production soon. So for those of you that are already using Galileo Admin, you won't see that right now, but in the next week or so, it will show up. But so for this more information text, I wanted to add a link to the library page. So if I go here, I highlight that text, and then I add the link I want to add and click link. And so now you'll see that it's a hyperlink. And let's say just for fun, I wanted to make the McCain library bold. I can highlight that and click bold. I can then select which color I want. So I'll make it yellow. That seems good. And then I can pick what dates I want it to display. So it will display the current time by default. And let's say I wanted to, well, I wanted to, I guess, show it until, July 5th. So I want to create the banner. So now it gives you a preview of what it's going to look like. So now if I switched over to the portal, you'll see now that that banner is showing. So you can only have one banner at a time. So keep that in mind. And we also at Galileo, we can add banners that also display, for instance, if EDS or ProQuest databases were having some sort of issue and we wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it, we may also add a banner that would appear at the very top of the page. So you could have two banners displaying a Galileo banner and an institutional banner. But you can only display one institutional banner at a time. So I want to go back to Galileo Admin. So I'm going to, let's say I wanted to go ahead and delete that banner. I don't need it anymore. Now go back, refresh, and it will disappear. So that is banners. The next area I wanted to show is the bento boxes. So to access the bento area, I want to go back under institutions and then go to Agnes Scott again. And you'll see a bentos button here. So once I go into bentos, you'll see a list of all the visible bentos. I want to edit those. And so once I'm editing the bento area, you'll have two columns. One's the visible column and one's a hidden. Visible means that these are bentos that are showing to everyone when they log into Galileo. And then hidden ones are ones that are available but are not displayed by default. So let's say you want to go in here and you wanted to add a GKR bento. I could go in here and just click and drag it over to the visible column. Click save. I think it's still saving. Yeah. Okay, it's saved. And you can also add your own bentos. So if I wanted to add my own bento, I click on new bento. And I can have a list of bento types here. The one that I wanted to show today, I don't have time to go over a lot of this today, but one thing I wanted to make sure everyone knows about is a newer enhanced bento that we recently released, and that is the custom EDS resource bento type. And so let's say, I wanted to create a bento that has all my Gale resources. Let's say I subscribe to a lot of Gale resources and I just want to have a bento that has just my Gale resources. I can do that by this custom EDS resource. So I want to do type in Gale resources. I can type Gale resources from EDS. And then I want to make that visible by default. And so what the enhanced area comes into play is this database name. So before you had to copy and paste the names, and it was sort of hard to, you know, to get a list of databases. You had to go back and forth. And so now you don't have to go back and forth to get the database names. Now, when you click on the database names, you get a drop down of all the databases that are enabled in EDS. So now if I search for Gale, it'll automatically limit to all your Gale databases that are enabled. So now I can just go through and add these. And then so I added all my Gale databases. So I'm going to submit, which will save the bento. And so in addition to Gale databases, or you can also create bentos for like nursing. So let's say you have a bunch of nursing resources that you want to create a nursing bento. You can also do that as well. So and you don't have to make it visible. So what some people have commented about what they want to do is, they want to make subject specific bentos and then not make them visible, but make them hidden. And so even though they're hidden, now users can go in and at an individual level, they can add bentos that are hidden by default, but you can go in and add that nursing bento to your own Galileo portal. So it's really neat to be able to do that now. So I've saved this Gale resources bento. So I want to go here. It defaults to the bottom. I want to rearrange it. I want to make it higher up. And I want to save my changes. All right, now I want to go over to Galileo Search. I want to refresh the page. I don't even think I had to do that really, but I want to search for education in the bento. So now you'll see my Gale resources bento that I just added. And then you'll also see that Georgia Knowledge Repository bento. And so what I was mentioning earlier is, I'll just show this real quick since I'm here, is this newer customized bento option. So if I click on the gear and go to more options, I can add a bento. So these are all the hidden bentos. So if I were to make a nursing bento and then make it not visible, a nursing student can come in here and add the nursing bento to their own bento list. And you can also save the link at the top of the layout. So if someone wanted to make a layout that was just for nursing, that included that nursing bento, they could do that as well, and then share that that URL with their nursing students. So that is bento. Just a couple other things. If I wanted to delete this bento, all I'd have to do was click the X and it disappears. Or if I wanted to restore, let's say I rearrange visible, hidden, and I want to get back to the original layout, I can restore defaults. And so that is done. And so, yeah, and then that Gale, I hadn't saved it yet, so that Gale resource got added back. But if I now save it, it'll save. And the way to is, so you'll notice here that these bentos that have the little half globe, these are Galileo managed bentos. So while you can't delete them, you can go into them and change the name. So if you know, if if let's say instead of databases you want to say resources, you could rename those. And again, I can go into bento more in a dedicated training, but I just wanted to hit some highlights on some things you can do. The next area I wanted to show you is the featured resources area, also known as the in the spotlight area. So I went back to the institutions area. I'm gonna go back into the Agnes Scott institution record. And there's a button at the top called features. And so this manages your in the spotlight area. So just to a reminder of what I'm referring to, this is the 6 databases that appear on the main page. So so you have 6, it's numbered 1, the top left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's different position numbers, and those come into play when customizing these. So these we have picked a you know a default set of resources that we thought are you know some of the resources that are used the most for that particular group, for public libraries or higher ed or K-12, but you can always rearrange those or change those how you want. So I want to go back into Galileo Admin. So I've actually added a JSTOR JSTOR as a in the spotlight. So you'll notice that it's actually showing on the top left. And so it shows at the top since that is a custom one that I've added. But you'll see here that it is replacing Academic Search Complete. I know that because this is highlighted in orange, but then you also have your others, your other resources that are displaying, and each one has a position number. So if let's say I wanted to change this to position 3, it'll switch over to that position. But it's really easy to add a featured resource. Go back to, my mouse will play along with me. It's really easy to add a featured resource. So all you need is a label, which is the name of the resource, a URL, which in this case, you know, this is a GLRI resource. So we use an express link. And so these, if you're not familiar with express links, they are Galileo specific links that that each Galileo database, GLRI database has. And so this is a link that you can add to your library, public, you know, your library page or LMS. And this ensures that authentication to the resource works properly, whether they're on campus or off campus. And then you have a description of the resource. And then you have the image. So I just pulled this from the JSTOR website, and the image will automatically resize. So it's that simple to add one, and as long as it has a URL. So if you wanted to create a featured resource for summer reading program or something that isn't even a resource, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go back to the features area. Let's say I just want to delete that. Okay, it's deleted. So now when I go and refresh page, it's gone, and you'll see now that the EBSCO eBooks has returned. And that is in the spotlight area. The next area I want to show you real quick is the institution information area. So I've gone, again, I'll go to the institutions section on the left-hand side, and then for Agnes Scott. And so I've been clicking on these buttons previously, but I wanted to also show you some of the institutional information that you can see. One is just hit some highlights here. One is contacts. So if you want to know what contacts we have for your institution, for those from the K-12 here, you'll have your password contacts here. And then we also have contacts like, people that have Galileo admin accounts, people that are contacts for your IDP, for Open Athens setup. And then those of you that are in the GKR, we have GKR contacts. So we also have authentication area. So if you want to see what IPs we have on file for you, it's under the authentication. So we have IPs. So whenever your IPs are about to change, you want to make sure we have the most up-to-date list. If you can go in here and see what we have, so you know whether or not to contact us to give us the latest ranges. We also have this portal area, which gives you the logo we're using for you. And then we also, you can set up these institutional links. And this you can actually manage yourself. So if I click edit here, right here, you can actually upload a new institutional logo. And that is a logo that displays on the right-hand side of GRI resources. And you also can add keywords. So if there is, this is used for the Wayfinder. So I'm gonna log out real quick. Well, that's not what I expected. Okay, if I logged out as Agnes Scott, and let's say, if I want to just use Agnes Scott's, abbreviation, just make it quicker. So when I type in ASC, it knows that that's a keyword set up for Agnes Scott. So it gives me Agnes Scott as an option. So you could do this with your mascots or abbreviations, or just anything that someone may search for to find your institution. So you can add those here. For those of you at K-12 schools or libraries, you can also add keywords at a site level or branch, or school level or branch level. And then you can also turn off the Power Notes link or the Zotero link. And then you can also, you have your, let me show you real quick. The area I am referring to. I'm going to log back in. Oh, of course. Well, I don't have time to log back in, but in the tools area, there's a list of links. This is on the main page of Galileo. At the bottom of the page, there's a tools and about, in this case, about Agnes Scott. And you have the ability to update those links. So if, let's say, your library website has changed URLs, you can go in here and update that URL yourself. Or if your Ask a Librarian link has changed, you can add up to 5 links. And then under the tools area, in that same area, you can turn off the Power Notes link or the Zotero link by toggling these off. Let's update. As simple as that. So I want to go back to the institution. Well, I'm actually already here. It took me back. So one last thing I wanted to show you in the institution information area is reports. So we have 4 different reports that you can run. One is a resources report, gives you a list of all your resources and the vendors. GLRI report. So this is a export of all your GLRI and including your short description, long description. So if you needed to make a bulk change for all your GLRI, you could do that using the CSV that it gives you, and we could actually update that on our side in bulk for you. You have a express links report. So that's those special links that you can add onto your library page or LMS. That gives you a full export of those. And then finally, we have a serials report. So this is the newest report. It's been there for about a year or so now, but this gives you a list of all the full text journals you have access to, all the ebook, all the numbers. So when you're doing those yearly reports of how many full text journals do I have access to, how many ebooks do I have access to, this report will give you those numbers for those reports. And that is institutional information. The next area I wanted to show is the customizing Galileo managed resources. So that is under, I'm still in the institutional record, and I'm going to go under resources. And so this gives me kind of a overview of all the resources that I have access to, either through Galileo. If I subscribe to cost share, it gives me my cost share and GLRI. So I can search for a resource. I can limit per vendor. If I want to sort by if it's displayed or not, if it's a GLRI, if it's set for bypass. One of the new features we've added is subscription type. So let's say, I want to see all my Galileo cost share for those of you who have subscribed to resources through Galileo cost share. I can select Galileo cost share and then click filter. And that's going to give me all the cost share resources. So you'll see here that this results list has a subscription column, and it shows cost share for all these. So these are all the cost shares that Agnes Scott subscribes to. You can also limit by if it's set up through enabled for Open Athens or not. If a resource has a overridden name, which I'll get to in a second, that's a new feature. And then also just general sorting. So I'm going to go into one of these results is Nexus Uni. So I'm going to click on Customize. So I want to go over some of the features that are now available. First one is you can control whether it's displayed. So this is a centrally managed record. So even though it's centrally managed, you still have the ability to hide it. So if I wanted to, not display Nexus Uni in my database list, I could hide it. Or if, let's say, the students, maybe they don't know it by Nexus Uni, but they know it by LexisNexis. You can LexNexus, and then so you could change the name. You could one of a new feature, so that's a new feature, being able to override the name. It won't impact any of your reports or anything. It'll only display that name in the database list. And then for branding for a cost share resource, that is also a brand new feature. So we have asked, for those of you who have Galileo cost share, that it's been a request to be able to add your branding to those. So now you can add branding. So if I wanted to add the funded by Agnes Scott College, or if you wanted to create your own special branding for cost share, you can do that too. You can add that as well. And again, I wanted to point out that the override resource name is not just cost share, it's any centrally managed record. You can also add subjects in addition to the subjects that are default in Galileo. So if I just wanted to add a few there, I can. You can also add additional keywords. So if there was some keywords that you wanted to add to a particular resource, you can add those here in addition to those that we have in the main Galileo record. So that is customizing Galileo managed resources. Sorry I had to speed through that, but we're short on time and I want to make sure we get to everything. So I'm going to go back to my slides. That is it for the demo part. I'm going to go over some account types. So we have a new account type, and so we recently retooled the Galileo admin account types, and so now we have the ability for a viewer account. So what this enables you to do is, let's say you have someone at your institution, they don't need to manage anything. All they want to do is to be able to view your GRI, view your IPs, view your contacts, view your links. Then we have the ability to do that. They won't be able to edit anything, but they will be able to run those institutional reports that I showed earlier, those express links, serials, serials, the GRI, and the resources. So if that's something that you have people at your institution that you would like to be able to just view Galileo Admin, just submit a ticket and we can make sure we can get that set up for them. We also have the general account, which is mostly customizations of the portal. So that's the banners, in the spotlight, bento, all the things that I basically showed here today, and except GRI. So, and they will need to attend or view training for this account type. And then the advanced account type is everything that's in the general account type, but also includes managing GRI and brandings. So if that's something that you would like to do, let me know by submitting a ticket. So we have a couple of Galileo admin trainings coming up. So we have 2 Galileo Admin 1. So this is for general and advanced users. So if for those of you that are already Galileo admins, you could sign up for this and it could be a refresher, or for those brand new and want to become a Galileo admin, you can sign up for these. There's one on July 9th at 10, and one on August 8th at 2. And they're approximately 1.5 hours. I know that's a long time, but I do, go in deeper depth of than I am able to today. We also have Galileo Admin 2 training, which is just for covers local resource integration, GLRI, and branding, and those are typically an hour and a half as well. But there's no live sessions scheduled right now. But if that is something that you're interested in taking on at your institution, submit a ticket, and I can follow up with you to make sure you get the proper training. And I can pop in if you want to go ahead and register. Oh, it looks like someone, Russell, already added that form. Yeah, there's a Google form where you can register for one of those trainings. And once it gets closer to time, I'll send out the meeting link for those. And I think we're right at time, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
No questions came up in the chat, Mike. Josh did make a comment about the WYSIWYG editor that we're adding to the banners feature. Josh pointed out that we hope to add that WYSIWYG option for other functionality like GLRI, so that you could easily draft your database and add your links and other things without having to add that light HTML touch. You just do
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I know that I went fast today. There was a lot to cover, but I at least wanted to give touch on some highlights of the various sections and features of Galileo Admin, just to give you an idea of what's possible. So for those of you who aren't currently Galileo admins, and that's something that you want to take on, feel free to submit a ticket. You can submit a ticket by clicking on the support section that on the top right of the Galileo page, and then there's some support forms there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then if you're just curious about whether it's something you want to take on and need more information, I'm happy to help. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone's time today to learn about Galileo Admin. I hope it was helpful, and I hope everyone has a good day and a good lunch. I think it's lunchtime.
Yeah,
Thanks.
just had a couple of comments. Also, if you see functionality and you don't have time to get the training, like if you want to add a bento to your list of default bentos, let us know. We can do that work for you, show you how to do it on the fly if we need to. And you can still have access to the functionality without going through the training if there's something that you want immediately. That's not ideal. It's great if you can do these things yourselves, but we can do them for you as well. A lot of them, anything from GLRI, adding your local resources, to updating your bentos. Just to point that out, obviously the preference is that you all go through the training and empower yourselves to do this, but we can add the functionality for you.
Yeah, definitely. We do realize that, you don't always have time or staff to be able to go in here and do it yourself. So we're happy to do it for you. You just submit a ticket and let us know what you would like to change or do, and we're definitely can help you out with that.
I will ask to answer this question in the chat about professional development credits. I will send that to you in the chat here momentarily, but I just need to send you an email address. So I will take care of that. That will be.
I'll put it in there, Russell.
Oh, thank you. That'll be Dina on our administrative staff here at Galileo. We'll take care of that for you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, and thanks again, everyone, for your time today, and hope everyone has a great rest of the Galileo Annual Conference.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Don't forget to stop the recording, Mike.